that verse in Hebrews 9:22 is absolutely 100% false, and that the interpretation of Leviticus 17:11, blood on the altar is the only way to get remission of, lechaper al nafshatechem, to make atonement for yourselves, is absolutely false.
Actually, I do have, I think, close to 80 testimonies on the channel, and they're all
Wow.
by ministers or ex-ministers like you. One even unique one that I had recently, he is still a preacher in the pulpit right
Wow.
now. And this is, of course, this is as of a month and a half ago, when we did his testimony. He was actively preaching. He goes, man, I don't know how to continue anymore. Welcome to TaNaCh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of Learn Hebrew from the Weekly Torah Parsha. This week we are on week number 25, not episode number 25. Week number 25, Parshat Tsav. This was right after Vayikra. My friend Gavriel Sanders, welcome back. Sort of in the studio. I definitely love our pre-talk about not doing it in the studio, but actually I should come there instead of you coming here.
No, that would be better. By the way, do you know that you just said broadcasting live from Kingsland?
Oh yeah, well, right now you and I are, but they won't know this.
That's right.
Sunday.
That's
good,
right.
Good
Well, I
point.
feel very, very much alive. So
yeah,
tonight,
that works for me. You know what I should
know.
start doing? I should start saying alive from Kingsland, Texas.
Ooh,
as
very
opposed
good.
as opposed to dead. That would be bad.
I like that.
That could ruin my whole day.
So what are we doing today?
All right. Parshat Tsav. So here, this is, as usual, if this is your first time on the channel, we're going to go through the Torah Parsha, just the first handful of verses of each Torah Parsha. I'm going to take off reading in my best ability as quickly and smoothly as possible. Gavriel will follow me up, and he'll make sure I'm doing it right, and if I have any errors there, he'll show them to me. He's going to go back again and actually just word for word without any extra information, just word for word, so you can see what the Vav is and what the Shoresh, the root is, and just by watching and listening. And then he's going to go back on the final round and just give you the entire breakdown of all the things you need to know about it. So that's how we go. And then in the last 10 minutes, of course, you get a nice little juicy nugget of Torah portion wisdom. That's what I look forward to that as well. So this is it. So here we are. Gavriel, my friend.
Okay, so first of all, we forgot the grammar section, and
thank you. Yes, good.
That's okay. So it's really kind of a sandwich or three-tiered whatever, because we're doing some grammar, then we're doing our reading and extracting inductively for what we can from the text, and then making a few comments about the parsha in general and whatever our takeaway can be. So that's kind of how we're going. Now, for those of you that are maybe, as William said, just tuning in for the first time, we've been doing different aspects of grammar at the beginning, and Hebrew grammar is very different, of course, than English grammar. And just saying the word grammar, I know, is causing anxiety for some people, because you probably had an English teacher that drove you nuts with split infinitives and dangling participles and past perfect things like that. And you're going, I don't like. But I'll tell you, based on my own experience, I learned my English got so much better by studying another language, because you're doing comparative things.
Right.
So just come, take what you can. So much of what we're doing is going to be repetitive. Part of what I'm doing today in grammar is a repetitive component, but we're also going to go further. And let me start the share here so we can get to there.
Very good.
You should see snow on your screen, right? So
I do.
nice white screen there.
I do.
Very good. Okay, so let's bring up the PowerPoint.
Something we hardly ever see in Texas,
right,
unfortunately.
So this is our famous apartment building that we refer to. So we're going to focus for just a few moments here on the concept of the Hebrew verb. And the Hebrew verb, we can break it into two very general areas. One, there's types of action, and then there's types of verbs. In other words, how the letters work together. Now, English has something. I'll give you a great example that describes something called transitive and intransitive verbs. And what transitive has to do with action being transferred, okay? So a good example would be the word walk. I walk every day. I walk the dog every day. Are those the same? No, they're not. One of them is something that I'm doing, and the other is I'm causing this dog to walk because I'm walking the dog. Hebrew has that distinction. The first one is what we would call down here, what we say simple active. This is be like I walk every day.
Okay.
And then causing something to happen is up here. And so the structure of the verb has a certain pattern to it that corresponds either to what we call floor number 1, or in this case, floor number 5. So each verb not only has what we would say is a basic root or a shorish, this is lamed, beit, shin, and this has something to do with the concept of wearing. So now it doesn't happen, it's really rare that one verb will appear on all the floors. And let me say one thing about, well, I'll come back to this. So right now we're going to see one that would appear on 4 of the floors. So for example, Ani lovesh et jacket babait. I wear the jacket in the house. So you can see here, here's the shorish, the root 3 root letters, like you see up here, they're down here. And here's the music or the pattern or the structure of this particular verb when it appears in simple active. Okay. Now this is just for one form. There are actually, if in the present tense, there are 4 forms, and then there's the past. So that's another discussion altogether. But right now, this is the music or the pattern of a simple one. Now it
So,
also can appear. Go ahead.
question. So, I for some reason I thought that all of the verb tenses were identifiable by the way they were pronounced, like hofal, oa, and then hefel, ea, right?
Yes,
Ooh,
you're
ooh,
right when it
ah.
comes to the past. When it comes to the past.
Oh, okay, okay, good, okay, good,
So when you see here pa'al,
okay,
in order for this to comply with it, it had to be lavash. So lavash would be the simple, that this word
the
kal here means simple or easy.
okay,
Okay, and this is the base form. It also is a word that it also, if you hear lavash, it also means something. It means, and we've said this before, you ask yourself the question, what did he do yesterday? Hu lavash, he wore.
hmm.
So it actually means something. It's also the base form of the verb, the root form. It's the root of all these others that spring from it. And if I were to come up here, where there's like hifil, it would be inserting these, take out the pei, the I, and the lamed, and put in the lamed in the base beit and the shin. It would be hil bish. And
So
that's an actual
this,
word. You're going to see that in a moment. We're going to come to that. So in
gotcha,
Nifal, now these, there's 7 here. These 2 go together, these 2 go together, and these 2 go together. And
okay,
this one stands on its own as its own, what's called reflexive action, goes out and comes back on itself, mostly, not always. Okay. So this one here, I said I wear the jacket in the house. Here, the jacket is worn in the house. I could say by me. I could put that in parentheses.
right, right,
The jacket is worn in the house by me. Okay. So the subject here is I. The subject here is the jacket.
hmm.
So the jacket isn't doing anything, right? It's
Okay.
passive, it's worn. Okay, somebody else is doing the action of wearing the jacket. That's what the concept of passive means. Here, here, and here.
And so on
Okay.
here in Nifal, you have the Nilbash, so ea,
Yes. And
ea,
you can see that,
ea,
right? You can
right?
see that.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. And so now each one of these exists in present, past, and future forms.
Okay.
The ones in the past have endings and only endings, and the ones in the future have prefixes and in some cases some suffixes also. All right, so now we don't, this root doesn't exist in this category, floor number 3 or floor number 4, but it does exist, as I said, in floor number 5. Now, what's the difference between this action where I'm wearing the jacket, and in this case, I'm dressing the boy with the jacket? Now, this is a little ambiguous. I'm dressing the boy who happens to be wearing a jacket, as opposed to the boy not wearing a jacket, or I'm dressing the boy with the jacket. I'm putting the jacket on the boy, right?
Right, right, right,
So this concept of dressing means I'm getting the boy dressed,
right.
right? So that's causative. I'm causing him to be dressed. Now, This one I didn't find it existing in here necessarily, and it's not really,
That's fine.
but I did find in this case the reflexive hilbashti. So here we have hitpael, and if
E.
this, and I'm here, I use this in like I.
Okay.
Okay, but if I were using it in the form of he, what did he do yesterday? Uh, Heat pa'el, it would be heat labesh. Heat labesh. So take away these three letters here, put these three letters in here, insert the music of the vowels underneath it. We have e a e. Transfer this in heat pa'el. Oh, excuse me, that's funny.
Yeah.
Heat labesh. My mind is not
Heat
thinking.
lavesh. Okay, yeah, yeah. So
I had nothing to do with it. All
the
right,
only
so
thing confusing would for me then would be that what you have highlighted in yellow here. It's not lavesh, it's lavash,
well,
as
yeah, in the
opposed.
past there's he. It's well, yes, because here for he, it's going to be a. But for me here, if you look at, then we'll. I'm not going to. I'll tell you where to look for it.
Okay.
It's in for this form. It's hitlabashti, hitlabashta, hitlabasht, hitlabesh. Okay, so you'll see that
Okay.
in the breakdown. If you go to our good friends at pealim.com, pealim.com, you can put in a shorish, a
Right.
root,
That's good.
and see the full blown conjugation of all those. Okay, so here is I dressed myself, in this case with a new jacket. All right.
Nice. Nice.
Now, I'm not going to go much deeper on this because we're
Okay.
going to talk about this over and over and over
Right.
again, and I'm going to expose you over time to
Nice.
these little bits and pieces. If you have specific questions, like Roger wrote a couple of weeks ago with a very good question on the construct state, which we're going to talk about for just a second now, then please feel free to send me a note, and if I can answer your question, I'm more than happy to do that. And with your permission, I'd like to use those questions here as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
Now, oh my gosh, look at this AI generated picture. And it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, who do you see? I mean, who would have been the author about this Cat in the Hat? Dr.
Seuss.
Right. And what's he writing on? What
Oops.
do we call this in Hebrew? We call it a
Seuss.
Sus. Okay, so we could say Sus al Hasus. Sus. So, all right. So in Hebrew, we have singular, we have plural, but this is masculine, singular, masculine. And in English, we talk about a horse. It could be a stallion, it could be a gelding, or it can be a mare. So in Hebrew, we happen, as most people know, this is a very common pattern. Doesn't always work, because nothing always works in language. But the primary pattern is we put a hey on the end of this masculine and it becomes a mare. Now, and then susos. We have sus, susim, susa, susot. Now, what happens if I want to make this a compound? We used to call this in English, we do call it in English a compound noun, like coffee table, military intelligence, field hospital. Those are compound nouns that consist of one noun and another noun versus, new table, um, or old hospital using an adjective. This is noun plus noun. So Hebrew has this structure, and I put four forms here. We've been talking about it before, but I'm giving you another pass at this concept to help etch or groove a little bit further into your synaptic connections,
Can I
how
insert
this works.
a quick thought jumped in here? Also, as a note
No, you
for
can't.
the viewer,
Yes, go ahead.
that the tav ending here is that's only works for nouns. For verbs, that would change the past, future, or something like that. But the point is,
I was
this.
I was gonna get there.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't want people to get confused because what we learned in the last few. So go for it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, so, but I appreciate your aggressive jump to the weak spot in all of this.
Okay.
Okay, so um, in this concept called the construct state, or noun plus noun, or compound nouns in Hebrew, um, we combine sus and avodah, and they really doesn't change. There are, but when we come to plural, something that has usually would be susim over here, it becomes suseh. So we go from ue to ue, suseh, avodah. This doesn't change. This could be singular, this can be plural. This doesn't matter what this is. The main thing is that this is what changes. And in the masculine, it's only right here in the plural. When we come to the feminine side of this compound noun business, the construct state, noun plus noun, then the only thing that changes in the feminine is if it's a hey here, hey. If it's susa, mora, yalda, or anything else like that, uga, cake, okay, then that hey converts to a tav, and this stays the same. So we go from susa to susat avodah, and it's very common. So, and this essentially stays the same. Susot avodah. In some cases, you may have a slight modification on this one when it be, and our question that we dealt with Roger a week or two ago, he asked about the Mizbeach, the altar, and why it went from Mizbeach to Mizbach
Right.
HaZahav or Mizbach Zahav, because that was noun plus noun. So sometimes you'll see on this one a slight change. Okay, that's all I want to say about this for now.
Okay.
If you have any questions about it, you're welcome to write. And do you have any comment or question,
Nope, you're
Mr.
good.
William?
Take it away, sir.
Okay. All right, so let's get to, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. Okay, good. All right, so you are on deck.
All right. Do me a favor. Oh, there you go. You just switched to black. That's good. Okay, here we go. I've got the white mouse and you've got the black finger pointer. Okay. Vaidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor.
Right. Vaidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. So, and spoke Hashem to Moshe to say, and when we go back to this, we've said before, this Vav has more than just the influence of and. It's more than just a connector from what was previously stated in the previous verse in the previous Parsha. It has the power of converting something that's in the future to the past, or something that's in the past to the future. Now, this is extremely rare in languages. I haven't found anything in other classic languages that do that, but Hebrew does. Specifically biblical Hebrew does this. It's called the conversive vav, or vav ha'ipuch. And so if I just put my cursor like that, and you see here, yedaber, that would be he spoke. Oh, excuse me, that would be he will speak, he will say. Okay, but this vav has the power of converting it to the past, and so it says
Nice.
spoke. So it says here, so the Hashem spoke, or spoke Hashem to Moshe, and this lemor, to say, or here it says saying. We've been commenting that it's as if we're putting quotes here, right? So Hashem spoke to Moshe, quote, and then we go on to the next verse.
Okay. Tsav, let me put mouse up there. Tsav et Aharon vaet banav lemor zot Torah ha'olah hiv. That's a strange word because it's got the aleph and there's no vowel. Hiv ha'olah al. Ooh, you have to explain that lowercase m, or that small m. Mukdah al hamizbeach kol. Aha, got it. Kol, baby. Not call. Kol. I'm proud of that. Halila ad haboker va'esh hamizbeach tokad bo.
Okay, great job. So let's go through the pieces of it now again. Tsav, command. Aaron and his sons to say, this law or instruction, elevation or going up, it is the elevation, or there it says burnt offering, but the elevation on its altar. It's a kind of burning place, really. On the altar all the night until the morning, and the fire of the altar will remain or shall remain burning in it or on it.
Very nice.
Okay.
Very
There are a
nice.
lot of there's a lot of moving parts in this particular verse. Okay, so first of all, this word tsav, the word mitzvah, the actual root of this is tsarivav he. And we see in other places of TaNaCh, Tzave Yeshuot Yaakov, command the salvations of Yaakov. But here it's, and this is the name, this is, the name of the Parsha comes right here from this word, Tsav. What's interesting, no connection whatsoever. There's another Hebrew word, Tsav, with a bait, or veit in this case. It means turtle. So, but there's no connection. So Tsav, and then this word, let's just talk for a second about this word et. This might be unknown or incompletely known to some people. The word et is untranslatable. And it simply is a marker. It's an indicator. It's a sign of that the word coming after it is a noun, and it's either a proper noun, like the name of Aaron here, or it's something that's definite. Like if I said to you, I see the book. If I were to make that into Hebrew kind of way, I would say to you, I see et a book, et the book. I see the book. So it's just a marker for that. So here it's talking about a proper noun. This is Aaron. Here it's talking about his sons, Banav, and this could be inflated to Habanim Shalo or contracted down to Banav, his sons, to say. And now let's talk about, go back over here. Zot. Now, Zot is the same as Ze. It's this. But Hebrew has, like Spanish, a masculine and a feminine form for the word this. Okay, so Zot Torah Ta'olah. Now we're back to where we were in the beginning when we talked about the female horse, the Susat Avodah.
Okay,
This is Torah.
so question on Zot, like Zeh, Hazeh. So the oat at the end, that wouldn't make plural things.
No,
This plural at all.
no,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay, that confused me earlier on. I'm glad you clarified that. Thank you.
I'm glad you asked the question, because if you have it, then from our hundreds of viewers, I'm sure somebody else might as well. So,
Okay.
so we have Ze, Zot, Ele, Elu.
Got it.
Okay, so we have this, these. And sometimes you'll have a hey in front of it, hazot, or like you have hazeh, the this, like ha'ish hazeh,
Right.
the man, the this. All right, that's how you say this man, ha'ish hazeh. Okay, Torah ha'olah. This is that construct state again. It would normally be Torah. It's a hey, but we have noun plus noun is the formula here. This is a feminine noun. It's the first. It's in the first position. Okay, so noun plus noun. The first position one is the one that in the singular feminine that can change, and in the masculine plural, second noun, that's the one that can change. Just over time and I would say overexposure, you'll get this. So please don't drive yourself nuts in trying to remember all this. Just observe. This is how I learned a lot of
Sure.
Hebrew, was just through observation and reading.
So why Torah rather than Torot?
Because this is telling us that when it says over here, what does the word Torah mean? It means instruction.
Right.
So we can have Torah, like the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, okay? Or we can have the Torah of a specific, in this case, a specific offering. So basically, this is the instruction for this type of offering.
Okay.
What type of offering is it? This offering is called an olah.
Okay.
And so here it's translated a burnt offering. It can also be translated an elevation offering, because this word. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you go too far, so the other half of that question was why not Torot instead of Torah?
Because it's just one set of instruction for this particular offering.
Okay, so if it says Torah, that means it's definitely not talking about a massive, like a full whole entirety of multiple laws. This is more on one specific. Okay.
Yeah, right. So you could really translate. This is the instruction for this type of offering.
So the tav would be, in this case, would be of, basically.
Yeah, Torah shel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
This
Cool.
is this is the instruction of the elevation offering.
Okay. Cool.
Or I could translate and say, this is the elevation offering instruction if I flip it around.
That
Okay.
helps.
And then you just made a slight comment about this here. If I cover that up and you weren't you reading it with vowel points, what would you think it is?
Eve.
You think it's who?
Oh, oh, your mouse isn't covering the vowel. Actually, it's above it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Here's that now. There you go. Okay. So yeah, who? Right.
Right. Now, this is very common in the biblical text, okay, where it's written who, but it's pronounced he. Now, why is it that way? I'll give you the standard Israeli answer. Lama, kacha. Why? That's just the way it is. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, Now, I can do some homework and we can maybe come back to this, but it's very common. Now, when you're reading an unpointed text, like the Torah text, like this morning when I was in shul, and I had an Aliyah Torah, I was called up to the Torah, and he's reading the text, and it's you've seen the Asherit text of the Torah, and it doesn't have vowel points. So the one who's reading has to know. He really has to be clear that this is to say this as he.
Not who.
Now,
Yeah.
the he is on the he is referring to what? The Torah Ta'olah. So it's based on this. He ha'olah. This instruction. This is the instruction for the elevation offering. That instruction is that this olah, this burnt offering, that's going to be burning basically, and I'll come to this small mem in a second. This is going to be on the altar. Now let's take a look at now here in Sepharia, which I like as far as the text is concerned. I don't like as far as the commentary is concerned necessarily. But it says here, I'll read it to you in Hebrew. It says, "B'sifrei Teman mokda b'mem regila." This basically says that in the writings of Teman from Yemen, so the Yemenite writings, this word mokda is with a b'mem regila, with a regular mem. This word regil or regila means regular. Isn't that nice?
That's nice.
So in that, then that's an unusual thing because in other texts it might be it's you find it in a small. Now there are actually there's books written on the subject of these little letters and the big letters. Like when we last week's parsha of Vayikra, so the aleph was small, and there's all kinds of commentary on why that is. But this phenomenon of small and large letters throughout the Torah, or this one here, there's definitely commentary available on it. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, so on al hamizbech, upon the altar, mizbech. By the way, this little preposition al, has multiple meanings. It can mean upon, as it does here. It can mean on, so upon, on, about, concerning. So you just have to know from context what you're talking about. So in this case, it's upon the altar, all the night, kol halayla. And by the way, I have to mention that this word lila, well, let me just ask you,
Okay.
what's its gender?
It looks feminine.
That's right. Looks are deceiving.
Okay.
When we come to Passover, which we're coming up on soon, there's a song that we sing about Ma Nishtana. When we talk about Halayla Ha Zot or Zeh? Hazeh.
Azeh. Interesting.
Zeh is a masculine.
Right.
It's masculine. Halayla Hazeh, and the plural is Leilot. Kol Haleilot, but it's a masculine noun.
Oh.
So I would say if I want to say, the big night, Halala Hagadol, or the big nights, Halelot Hagdolim. Yay, yay, yay. Okay, but that's the way
That's
it
the way it
is.
is. Okay. Good to know.
Okay, now the word ad looks almost like this. If you just take that little top off the lamed there.
Right.
Ad means um, until the morning. Now, in modern Hebrew, we write the word boker with a vav in here because we tend to write, without vowel points. But here the word boker, And this root has some multiple meanings. If you look it up, you'll find, go to pe'elim.com and you'll find multiple meanings for it. So boker, and then it's going to say ve'esh hamizbeach. Now the word esh, I'll just tell it to you now because it's not here, is feminine. Esh is a feminine. So ha'esh hazot, the fire, this fire. How do you say that? Ha'esh hazot. So esh hamizbeach. This is also noun plus noun, but there's no hey here. So I said feminine. It's only when there's a hey, like on the word Torah, that converts to a tav. But here's a case where we have noun plus noun. This is, by the way, for me, this is really interesting because I've never picked apart the text in this kind of detail, and I find it fascinating. The Eish HaMizbeach tukad bo. Now, the reason that this is a rare word biblically. The actual root is yud kuf dalet, yakad, and it means basically to keep to blazing. The word is related to the word ablaze, to keep something ablaze, keep something burning. So because this is feminine, Eish HaMizbeach tukad. So this is going back to this. So the action, the verb here is on this particular word. Okay. That's why this is feminine. Otherwise, if you thought that this is masculine, you might be a little confused as to why this is a future form of the word yakad. Okay. And again, like I said, it's a rare word. You don't see it very often. And you can actually, if you click on the word once and then go click on it a second time, it brings up a little dictionary over here.
Nice.
And so you can just look it up for yourself here. Okay. So let's move on to the next.
All right.
By the way, the word bo is based on this word, this letter bait being a preposition on the front of a word. Like ish ba'aretz, a man in the land, but it also has pronominal suffixes, which means basically who are we talking about, or what or who are we talking about. So I could say banu, we say in a bracha in the morning, Hashem bachar banu, who chose upon or in us. So this could be in me, okay, bacha in you, banu in us. And all the prepositions do this, by the way. All the prepositions, the ones I just pointed out here, all of these have you put endings on them, so you know who you're talking about. Okay, let's go forward.
Okay, very good. All right, velabash hakohen mido bad umiknase bad libash al Bashoro, Basaro. There you go, Basaro. Vaherim et Hadeshen Asher Tokal Haesh et Haola Al Hamizbeach Vishamo, Vesamo, thank you. Vesamo Etzel Hamizbeach. My dear friends, hope this message finds you well. If you like the way this channel is going and the channel has been a blessing to you, please consider supporting the channel by going to the website TaNaChTalk.com, TaNachTalk.com. Thank you once again for your time and for supporting TaNaCh Talk. Shalom. Hamizbeach.
Great. Vilavash hakohen midovad michnasei vad yilbash al psaro veherim et hadeshen asher tochal haesh et haola al hamizbeach vesamo etzel hamizbeach. And he will wear or dress. This is the word we used, by the way, in the beginning. Remember when we did about the verb? So he will dress the priest garment, linen, and pants, basically, linen. He will wear upon his flesh and he will lift up, he will raise up the ashes, which are had the fire consumes or has consumed in this case the sacrifice called an olah, an elevation offering, a burnt offering, upon the altar, and he will and he put, in this case referring back to the ashes, and he put it by or next to the altar. Okay, let's unpack this.
Nice.
So the lavash. Now we said here that, again, this vav has this double duty in this case of switching something that's given to us in the past. Lavash means he wore. That's the one we used in the beginning. He wore. But the vav converts it to the future, which is why they translated it here, shall put on. Okay, so, and he will put on the Cohen, the high priest, and this the priest in this case. Mido is Amidah is this means his garment, and Amidah is can be a character quality, or it can also be in this case a garment, and this is made out of Mido Vad. Now normally this would be Bad. You would see a dagesh, or you'd see a dot here, like you see a dot here, okay, or a dot here. You would normally see one here, but the reason why it's not, and we've talked about this briefly before, we went through and we analyzed what was the sound at the end of a word, and how does it affect the sound at the beginning of the next word. So here, this is a close. This is a hard sound, sh in this case, n in this case. But here, this is an open sound, o. So it's, instead of being mido bad, it's mido vad. Okay, now, is it a big deal if you don't do it like it? No, it's not. And in Hebrew pronunciation, modern Hebrew pronunciation, people skip over this piece all the time. But if you wanted to know why, if somebody's a bit drilling down into the finer points of the dikduk, the grammar, then that's the reason, because this is an open sound. It's ending with an open vowel sound. So any vowel that we're thinking of, you'll see this phenomenon. And then we become u mich nasei vad. So there's several things in here. Okay, this is the same thing. And what I just said right here is the same for this. What's the sound at the end here? A. Okay, it's an open vowel. Okay? It's not a hard sh or n or something else or d. Okay, it's open sound. So it's now. Why is this say? For the same reason we talked about at the beginning in the constructs. This is a plural masculine noun. It would usually be yud mem. Okay.
So I have a question now.
Go ahead.
At the bod or vad, the letter bet or vet. That's where I'm focusing on right now. So is bet with the dagesh, is that like the high norm, and then the vet is just a replacement? Yes. Whenever it's ending in a soft.
Yes. Yes.
So it's not like half and half. It's like this really depends on. So it's always bet unless you have a soft ending, then it changes to vet. Beautiful.
I'm going to turn the mic over to you. You're doing a great job.
No, I just needed to understand this. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but you got it. You
Okay.
really got it.
Okay,
That's
cool.
beautiful. But you see, and I think anybody who's stuck with us this far, you see that it takes a lot. This is an intense piece of work.
Yeah.
All right. And you've been learning Hebrew for many, many years. All right. So I hope that taking this inductive approach here, where we're not going through a grammar book and trying to learn a lot of rules, but we're really going through and picking apart the text and learning those, if you want to call them rules, or just how the language works in context, which is really, I think, a superior way to do this. And you get it, because then when you bump into it again, you got it. Speaking of bump I want to come back to here.
Nice.
For those that don't know this yet, why is this pronounced v here and u here? So in some section, some parts, say it again. Run the tape back. Okay, good.
Nicely done.
we have a concept that I call the bump letters. The bump letters consist of a beit, a vav, a mem, and a pei. So if we're going through and we're stringing several things together with the vav meaning and, if that and comes in front of one of these letters, a beit, another vav, a mem, or a pei, it changes from the to u.
Nice.
And you'll see that over and over again. Now, there's a couple other pieces of the puzzle here I'm not mentioning. We've mentioned before. We'll say them again as they come up, but I don't need to say it now. So that's this first line I wanted to pick about. Now,
Okay.
yilbash. Now, look at these two words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Notice it's the same shorish, but also notice here it's lavash and here it's yilbash. What happened there? So this is the future form. And in the future form, the beit stays with a hard dagesh. So elbash, I will wear, I will dress. Tilbash, you will dress, you will wear. Yilbash, in this case, he will wear, he will don. You can put, what does it say here? Yeah, so it could be the word don, like put on. So this is he will wear upon basaro. Now, basar is the word for flesh,
Right.
like skin, all right? And basaro is his, so this means his. In other words, if we let's inflate this, ha basar shelo. Okay, the flesh of or the skin of him. And Hebrew likes to contract things down, so we have basaro. Veherim. It's interesting because this is given to us in the past here. The future would be, this is future, but this is given in the past. Interesting construction. Heirim comes from the word ram, or rom is the shorish is resh vav mem. Has to do the idea of lifting up, exalting. A lot of different words come from this. So here, in this case, he will lift up, cause to go up. Et hadeshin. Deshin is ashes. And again, notice here again, et ha. This is a thing that's made definite, the ash. Now it's translated here, ashes, but in the Hebrew, it's just like it's kind of a compound, or like the word sheep or fish. So the ash, which will burn or be consumed by fire. So here it is, tochal ha'esh. So just like over here we had esh tukad, and this verb is feminine future. This one here also is, where do we go? There we go, is feminine future, okay? Because esh is a feminine noun, even though it doesn't have a taf or a hey on the end of it. And there are quite a few of those. So this fire is consuming, okay, the sacrifice that's called an olah. So there are four basic categories. There's an olah, and there's an asham, and there's a chatat, and there's a shlamim. We'll get into some of those as we go along. Upon the altar, Vesamo, this samo, this means put. And the O here, just like we had basaro here, that means in this case his flesh. Here the O is referring back to the deshin up here, and he's going to basically put it, the ashes, etzel, with, besides the altar. And this preposition again, etzel, just like we talked earlier about al and there's so many others. There's a whole section in pe'alim.com under prepositions where you can see, for example, etzli. Like if I want to say, Efo William, who etzel David. Where's William? He's with, or he's by, or at David's place. Or I could say, who etzlo? He's with him. So this word etzel can go through a lot of different endings here that tell you who is being talked about, who or what is being talked about. Okay, so let's see if we got time here for one more verse here.
I believe so. We're at 44 minutes now.
Yeah.
So I think
okay, good.
We can skip through real quickly. Okay. All right, there's your pay you were looking for.
That's it.
Upa. No. Ufa.
Mm-hmm.
Ufashat et bagadav. ולבש בגדים אחרים והוציא את הדשן אל מחוץ למחנה אל מקום טהור.
Excellent.
Okay.
ופשט את בגדיו ולבש בגדים אחרים והוציא את הדשן אל מחוץ למחנה אל מקום טהור. All right. Now, I just said over here, we talked about bump letters. Here's a case where the vav stands in front of a mem.
Don't forget to
And nothing has changed.
Don't forget to read through that first and then go to that.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you for reminding me. I appreciate it.
No pause necessary.
It's a new discipline. Huh?
I said no pause necessary. Just go with it.
Okay, very good. That's fine. I look good in red. And took off, removed, put off his garment and wore garments others, and took out, removed the ashes from outside the camp to a place pure.
Cool.
Or clean. Okay.
Nice.
So that's the literal kind of word by word translation here. So ufashat. So I said to you about the bump letters: a beit, a vav, a mem, a pei. So in the bump letters, two of them don't change. If there's a vav in front of it, it's u, like we said up here. We have this case right here, the mich nase. Okay, so it's But here, if the letter that comes after the vav at the beginning of the word, and it means and, so note what I said. The vav comes at the beginning of a word and means and. Not every vav at the beginning of a word means and. There are some actual Hebrew words that begin with the letter vav. Veret, the word for rose, okay, or a girl's name Varda, okay. Vitur, which has to do with relinquishing or giving up, or so there are some words that begin with a vav. And so if it was like, if I wanted to say Dina and Varda, these two girls' names, I wouldn't say Dina viv Varda. I would say Dina u Varda.
Right.
Okay? Just
right.
kind of a little smoother. Okay. And in this case, we have two letters that don't change. Vav is one of them. If it's a consonant, and mem doesn't change, like we saw right up here. Okay, that didn't change. That's mem. But if it's a beit or a pei, they change. The beit becomes a v sound, and the pei becomes a f. It goes from a pei to a fe. Okay.
Does that fall in line with the Beget Kepet letters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but within the Beget Kepet, you've got this. It's slightly different because that has to do with dagesh chazak and dagesh line, and with hard dagesh and a soft dagesh. We know which letters actually take a dot as a matter of course. And that's a whole interesting discussion in itself, by the way, especially when we talk. I could go down a rabbit hole of how the Yemenites do it, because they actually do pronounce those letters with and without dots. And so with those 6 letters, there's 6 other without the dagesh, and they're sounded differently. But in Ashkenazi pronunciation and in modern Israeli pronunciation, you really don't have that.
That's cool. Keeps it simple.
But yeah, keep it simple. Okay, ufashat. And by the word pshat or pashut happens to mean simple. So here it means he puts off his garment, takes off his garment.
That's funny. But
this word, this root has other meanings to it. Well, quite a few actually. So and now here it's once again. The vav, this is the number 1 verb. It's on the first floor. Like I know from the music, like lavash, okay, or katav, he wrote, or achal, he ate, halach, he walked or went. But the vav here is throwing it into the future, and he will take off, he will remove. And here's the word et again. They say, well, Sanders, you said et needs to come with a hey, like we see over here. Et ha'olah. where's the hey here? Why is et here if I don't see a hey? Because right here, this is what makes it specific. His sons. Oh, excuse me. That's funny. That's banav. This is begadav. Okay, begadav, his garments. So it doesn't need a hey when it's already giving us the specificity. We're talking about who is involved here. So this is actually it's plural, garments, because if it were just his own, it's just one, is like it would be big dough. So, and again, I can point you to where to find those in Pe'alim, but not in this lesson today. Okay, again, we go back to Uve Lavash, and again, it's doing the same thing. It's written in the past, but the Vav is giving us an indication of it's in the future. The whole context of this verse is in the future anyway. These are the things these are instructions. This is what you will do. And he's going to put on begadim acherim. Now, this is a case where we don't have noun plus noun. We have noun plural, masculine, plus adjective plural, masculine. So I could say in the singular beged acher, a different garment, another garment, or in this case, begadim acherim, so other garments. Again, in the Hebrew way, and this is true in Spanish and some other Romance languages, the adjective has to agree with the noun in terms of gender and in number. So if this is plural and it's masculine, this has to be plural and masculine. And yes, for those who are thinking the question, there are irregularities. Okay. So if this, and I won't go down that right now, it's not it. Okay. Vehotzi. So if I just cover this up and just say hotzi, this is a number, what I call the number 5 verb. So if we go back to the apartment building that we looked at in the grammar section at the beginning, then this is a number 5 verb. But you say, well, wait a minute. I thought number 5 was hifil. This is O. What's that about? It's because of what the first letter is. It's a weak letter. It's a yud. The actual root is yud tzadi aleph. And so it does a little weird thing here, but the structure of it is definitely a number 5 verb. Now, what we said before, I'll say it again, you have to study each one of these within a certain context. And when you've got one down, you've got them all down. There are other hifil, number 5, causative verbs that begin with a yud in the root that follow the same pattern. So once you've learned one of them, but now I've been at this for 40 years on this language. So give yourself the time you need to absorb it and don't fall for the, either the FOMO or the just walk away and give up. Keep at it. There's a concept, when it comes to Torah learning, we have a concept called amelut or amelus, which means toil, labor. It's work, okay? But it's good for the brain and it's good for the soul. And if you're a Jewish person, it's really important for your identity because your language is emblematic of your identity, and you need that. So Vahotziat addition. So he's going to remove, take out. We're back to the word ashes. It's a mass noun, so it literally can be ash or ashes. 2. So this is an interesting combo here because the mem in this case means from. So it means to from outside. Michutz. El michutz la machane. Now, this is an interesting one because it has a hey on the ending, but it's not here, like Torah, uga, right. So this is actually a masculine noun. Yep.
Okay.
In Machane, where I live in Jerusalem, is right by Machane Yuda. Okay. The shuk. El, here we have, I guess we have El here and El here too. Place, makom. And the word tahor can mean either clean or really the better translation for this word is pure. Okay. So what's going on here as we're going to transition now to, I guess, to some of our commentary about all of this.
All right. Well, let's go. Yeah, because we did wrap up these 4 verses. It's interesting to see how, for me, it's fun just going really slow for the purpose of trying to learn the Hebrew and just taking your time with it. And this is just like, it's like savoring just like really enjoying the taste of a nice piece of steak. You just want to not rush through it, right? So this is good.
Well, I've seen in the commentaries that people make, and I really appreciate most of the comments that people leave there.
We won't mention it. We
Hint.
won't mention the other ones.
We have one fly in the ointment there. So,
Right.
but at any rate,
That's funny.
I
That fly in the ointment never goes to Rabbi Singer's videos.
really
It never does.
interesting.
I've
I'm
looked.
so
I think they're afraid to.
I'm so
So
lucky.
yeah.
I'm so lucky.
Cool.
Well,
All right. Good transition spot then. If were you going to say something?
nah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Here we go.
Okay, so we have been in the second parsha of the book of Leviticus, and that encompasses the verses that you see on your screen here from 6:2 to 8:36. It's such an esoteric kind of book. It's the centerpiece of the Torah, bounded on the one side by Sefer Bereshit, Genesis, Sefer Shmot, book of Exodus, and then the other side, Bamidbar, the desert, and Sefer Devarim, Deuteronomy. And so little would apply to today on the one hand, you'd think, but it contained within it are amazing hints and secrets and things that are going on at the granular level of gematrias and uh, just so many things. I'm reading one of the amazing sages of this age is someone by the name of Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg. And what he does with this sefer, with is I mean, it's heavy stuff. You really almost have to have a physicist's brain to follow what he does. So there's plenty here. And interestingly enough, the and I've seen this, little children in yeshiva, in what's called cheder, old word for room, start learning the book of Leviticus. They don't start with narrative portions of Torah. They start with Leviticus. And part of the reason for that is because it's really a lot of, not just about sacrifices, it's a lot about purity, and purity at a level that is totally that we're unaccustomed to today when we talk about purity. So anyway, let's just quickly go through kind of a summary. Here we're looking at how Hashem instructs the Kohanim, the priests, about the animal and meal offering sacrifices in the sanctuary, and also talks about these kind of an installation of them. So we do with sacrifices and offerings in the Mishkan, the tent, and these include what you see on the screen here. There are meal and guilt offerings, or offerings of thanks. Another thing is the fire on the altar, which we just read in the conclusion verse, has to be kept burning in the altar all the time. And there are specific portions of the offerings that are burned. Some are completely burned, okay? Some are eaten just by the priests, and some are shared and given to the one who brought the offering. And I heard this morning, I was sitting in where I daven here, just 90 seconds from my door. We have a huge, biggest bomb shelter I've ever seen, and we have a shul. We have a synagogue in that bomb shelter. And it's beautiful singing. It's a fantastic place. If someone comes to Jerusalem, be happy to show you where to go here. It's very uplifting. And one of the guys, the one who reads the Torah, is also an excellent teacher. And he mentioned, like, how weird our sacrifice. Does God need our sacrifices? The answer was no. God is incorporeal. He's non-material. But we need the sacrifices. And what is one of the universal catalysts for bringing people together? Food, right? You find when people throughout the scripture, when people are making a covenant of some kind, an agreement of some kind, there's food involved. It's so in here too, there's food involved. So can you imagine, like, the person who brings the sacrifice, and then he's going to share in that with the priest, and they're spending time together, and maybe the person, like, totally blew it. One of the major reasons for bringing a sacrifice was because somebody inadvertently transgressed. They didn't mean to, but they did. And so by bringing the sacrifice, it's like when you pay a fine. You got stopped by the cop and he gave you a ticket. Your odometer read 30, but you were really going 50. So now you got double trouble, right? You got to go get to the mechanic and get the odometer fixed, but you also got to pay the fine because you were speeding. And no matter how good your intentions were, you didn't mean to be speeding. It was not your intention at all. You actually transgressed. And so there was a penalty for it. You paid the fine, and now you're much more conscious and conscientious about your driving. The same thing is true with whatever the issue was. Like, say, for example, a Jewish person picked up the phone, answered the phone on Shabbat, right? Orthodox person picked up the phone on Shabbat, and then goes, oh, no. Now, if we could go back 2,000 years with the telephone, and why did he answer his phone? He forgot it was Shabbat. Or maybe he's somebody new to Jewish observance and he didn't realize that you don't answer the phone on Shabbat. Okay. So in either case, he was unaware. He was either unaware that it was Shabbat, or he was unaware that answering the phone on Shabbat was not something that you are supposed to do. Unless maybe it's an emergency of kind, and then all bets are off. But in this case, he didn't know. So that's a candidate for bringing a sacrifice. So in bringing the sacrifice, that's now etched in his mind that, oh, okay, I got to remember what day it is, and I need to learn the laws of Shabbat. And so that was the purpose of that particular sacrifice. Okay. And there are others that we can talk about. There's something called the guilt offering, which is really for if a person's not really sure if he did something or didn't do something, or misused some kind of misused something that was dedicated for sacred purposes only, and he used it in a non-sacred way for some other purpose. We have in this parsha also eating regulations. I'm not going to go through all of these. You can read them on the screen very quickly, like who eats what, basically. And also, this is very important that the holy offerings had to be eaten by people who were ritually pure. So a person might have to go to the mikveh, to the ritual bath, dip, etc. Other things that they would have to do to be in a holy place at a holy time. And then another feature that shows up in this week's parsha is the initiation of the priests. So we see what's happening with Aaron and his sons. Moshe initiates them into the priesthood. And so this parsha basically emphasizes the sacred duties of the priests, the significances of the offerings, and the continuity of priestly service. So one of the things that I think I'm going to skip this one because we're getting too deep into things. So a couple of things. One, for the fact that we don't offer sacrifices today doesn't mean, and I'm answering the typical missionary question, how do you get forgiveness today if you don't have the sacrifice system, the priests, the temple, the altar? And then they'll quote Leviticus 17:11, which we're eventually going to come to, and tell us that the only way to get forgiven is through blood sacrifice. And they'll quote Hebrews 9:22, and say that without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sins. And that's simply not true. And we've demonstrated this in a number of different places. And if you haven't heard I think it's a 14-minute podcast. It's on my podcast at jewishpodcast.fm. Look up the Gavriel Sanders Show. I have given a very thorough, I think, concise explanation on this subject, that verse in Hebrews 9:22 is absolutely 100% false. And that the interpretation of Leviticus 17:11, blood on the altar is the only way to get remission of, lechaper al nafshatechem, to make atonement for yourselves, is absolutely false. Okay, that we already demonstrated two or three studies ago other ways that atonement can be made apart from blood. So the reason, though, that we study these things is to keep in mind what was done before. And according to some of our sages, the studying of the law is as if you're doing it. So in fact, there's a certain prayer that we say in the morning after each of the recitation of certain sacrifices, that may this recitation and my learning of this be ke'ilu, use the word ke'ilu, as if I offered this particular sacrifice. Because the intent in my heart was, if I were in those days at those times, that's exactly what I would do. And that word intention here, what we call kavana, is very important. For example, if you brought a sacrifice, you didn't mean to do something. You brought the sacrifice, but you didn't really have the right attitude. Would you be forgiven just because you gave the sacrifice? The answer is absolutely no. So we see in other parts of Scripture that people who had the right attitude of repentance, they were contrite, they felt a sense of remorse, and they resolved not to do it again. And they confessed the fact that they blew it. They admitted to it. They had contrition. They felt sorrow. they confessed to it, and they resolved that they were not going to do it again. That was what triggers the atonement. The fact that they had to do something external partly was because the sin that they did, or the transgression that they did, the crossing the line or missing the mark, was something physical that they did. All right. So the transgression was physical. The atonement needed to be physical in this case. But that's not always the case. There are things that are non-physical. Okay. So, if I think a bad thought, there's no sacrifice that I can give. I could be contrite about it and confess it and resolve not to do it again. That I can bring to Hashem. So we see that spotted throughout the Jewish scriptures. You'll find different places where repentance is really the key thing. Repentance, prayer, the commission of good deeds, and the giving of charity. And I know I can hear the missionaries saying right now, there's none good. There's none good. No, not one. And they're quoting me, from Psalm 53 and Psalm 14, which are basically the same. But that's not the case. You got to read it in context, and that's always the problem with the missionaries, is the taking of things out of context. So anyway, the final thing I wanted to say here is the study of the book of Leviticus is a study in holiness at a level that we are not accustomed to. Pretty soon we're going to come to Kedoshim, which tells us where Hashem says, Kedoshim tiyu ki kedoshani. You shall be holy, for I am holy. And this kind of, and when I was back in the missionary world myself as a young minister, I couldn't understand this. How could God tell people to be holy when humanity was incapable of being holy? Well, Rabbi Michael Skoback has done a very interesting study on this particular subject, and I'm going to credit him with what we're going to study when we get there. So it is possible to be holy. You can be a holy person if you understand what holy means. It doesn't mean sinless. All right. So we're going to come to that as well, just like the word righteous. All right. So I want to give everyone a blessing for the coming week, that your studies in the scripture will be meaningful, that you'll dig out the things that are there for you, things that have your name on it. If you are someone that's struggling in your faith in the whole church world, I understand exactly. There's so many people here who've walked the path before you and can be helpful to you. And if you need to reach out and communicate with somebody, there's plenty here. William knows this very, very well.
Yes.
And his story is on the site. You definitely should hear it. You got others like Shannon Newson, and you could name it. You've interviewed quite a number of people in your Tuesday testimonials, right? Those are still in the archives there.
Yes, actually, I do have, I think, close to 80 testimonies on the channel, and they're all by ministers or ex-ministers like you. One even unique one that I had recently, he is still a preacher in the pulpit right now. And this is, of course, as of a month and a half ago. When we did his testimony, he was actively preaching. He was, I don't know how to continue anymore. And so, the list is long, and the longer the list gets, the more nervous missionaries and Christians should get, because these aren't people who are uneducated, who are just following a whimsical idea that somebody threw at them. These people who have studied it for years are finding out the truth. So, yes.
Well, I certainly, and I'm glad we're talking about this subject. I think it's relevant, and I'm sure I'm not saying this, with the Holy Ghost.
Right.
It's not a word. It's not a word of knowledge, as it were, because I come from the charismatic tradition, like you do, right?
There you go, charismatic for sure.
Okay, yeah, you weren't a burnt-out Baptist.
No,
my father was. The How do I say this? You want to be honest to God. And it must be very difficult for you to listen to all of us here who were solidly believers. And I know you're thinking, not everyone, Lord calls Lord, Lord, and just, all those different verses. 1 John, they went out from us to show they were not of us. And I go down, I still remember those. And I myself, just like William said, never thought that I would walk away from Jesus. I mean, that was like, you're going to be burnt toast, right? And when people ask me, so what was the one thing that convinced you? Well, it's never just one thing. But I will tell you that the Hebrew language was the primary catalyst that caused the gears to shift for me intellectually to look at the text, because my graduate school work was, which is in a school associated with Fuller Seminary. I went to William Carey International University. and I did work in linguistics because I wanted to be an English teacher here in Israel, and I was an English teacher here in Israel, but I was really going after the Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did those comparisons between the Hebrew text and the English text, and I saw the disconnects and the problems that were there, I thought, wait a minute, one of these can be true, but the other can't be.
Mm-hmm.
So Hebrew text must be the original has to be true, but there's something funny going on over here.
Yeah.
And we've all talked about this in various ways, but I encourage people, don't sit there and suffer in silence. Get in touch with somebody. There's like William can refer you to somebody that you can relate to and you can at least have a connection with and say, talk to me, because I'm in touch with a few people that write to me. And I'm thinking of one in particular that has this tape running in the back of her head saying, you're going to burn.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk away from this, and it's like, she's hard for her to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Or somebody else wrote to me recently and said, but didn't Jesus do all these wonderful things for you? How can you possibly turn your back on this loving Savior who provided? And didn't you see miracles in your life? It's a very subjective thing, but either you're going to walk and talk with the truth,
mm-hmm.
and that's really based on TaNaCh, or you could be self-deceived.
And on top of that, there are miracles in other religions also. In Hindu, with Islam, they've got miracles. Does that mean that they're right and Christianity's wrong? Of course not. Just means that Hashem is the creator of all life, and He cares about all of us. That's all it means.
Well, I want to thank you, William, for hosting this particular programming that we're doing together. It's really been amazing to work with you. We've been together, I think it's close to 7 years,
it's been a long time.
Off and on, in different iterations of Hebrew presentation.
Right.
And I think we really hit our stride with this one.
Yep.
If this is helping you, folks that are viewing, if you've stuck with us through this long in the program, would you please let us know? Write William a note or write me a note. My info's on the screen there. And another thing is just to be a participant and to help out, because keeping TaNaCh Talk on the digital airwaves is really critical, because it's an audience now of thousands and thousands of people, tens of thousands really over time, around the world, who are being helped by this simple, funky little station out of Kingsland, Texas. All right, so and I'm here in Jerusalem, and Rabbi Singer and Rabbi Skobek in Canada, and all the other different contributors who freely give of their time, so that we can give you a reference point for how to navigate your life in the days ahead. So we're here to help you. We love you. We care about you. Hashem loves you. He cares about you more than we can imagine. And use the resources.
Definitely. My friend, thank you, Gavriel. We'll look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week, Hashem willing. Y'all have a great week. Amen. Take care. Bye. Hello, my dear friends. Hope this message finds you well. If you like the way this channel is going, and the channel has been a blessing to you, please consider supporting the channel by going to the website, TaNachTalk.com, TaNachTalk.com. Thank you once again for your time and for supporting TaNaCh Talk. Shalom.
תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה